I should have known something was off the moment I walked into the reception hall at the Biscayne Bay Resort. The venue was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers, ocean views, white roses everywhere. But the girl at the check-in table's expression when I approached told me something wasn't right. "Last name?" she asked, scanning her list with practiced efficiency. "Wilson," I replied. "Ethan Wilson." She ran her finger down the sheet, then paused, visibly uncomfortable. Her eyes darted to someone behind me before returning to the paper. "Ah, you're listed as, +1, not required," she said, flipping the seating card toward me like she hoped I wouldn't see it properly. But I did see it. Clear as day. Name, +1, not required, table, standing. I blinked, certain I'd misread. "Excuse me," and then I heard it. That voice, sharp, fake sweet, and unmistakably smug. "Oh, don't be dramatic, Ethan." My cousin Scarlett, the bride herself, appeared behind me in a cloud of designer perfume and condescension. Her custom Vera Wang gown probably cost more than my car. "You never RSVP'd with a guest, so I figured standing room would be fine." She gestured vaguely toward the bar. "There's always the bar." She walked off laughing before I could respond, her Jimmy Choos clicking like punctuation on a punchline. I just stood there, stunned. The check-in girl avoided eye contact, clearly wanting to be anywhere else. Around me, other guests were being escorted to their assigned tables, complete with name cards, champagne flutes, and actual chairs. Maybe I deserved this. Maybe I had let them treat me this way for too long, because this wasn't new. This was just the latest hit in a long series of jabs from my so-called family. They'd always found ways to remind me I wasn't really part of the inner circle, just orbiting around it. Useful but disposable. Like when Scarlett borrowed $950 for her bridal shower and promised to pay me back after the wedding. Or when her brother Noah asked if I could spot him for his flight and tux rental. Or when I realized I was still paying for the family streaming subscriptions because we don't want to lose the playlists. And like a fool, I always said yes. I was the reliable one, the stable one, the one who never made a fuss. But tonight they made a mistake. They humiliated the wrong person. I took a slow, deep breath, walked over to the bar, and ordered the most expensive scotch they had. "Neat," I said. The bartender poured it without comment, but he saw the card in my hand. "Standing?" he asked, lips twitching in a poorly concealed smile. "Apparently," I replied flatly. I sipped the amber liquid, savoring the burn, then pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. 3 recurring payments were still active. $950 to Scarlett. Wedding expenses. $375 to Noah. Tux/travel. $85 for the family entertainment bundle. One by one I tapped, cancel, cancel, cancel. Then I opened my email and attached the receipts they'd forgotten about. The ones that proved the money wasn't spent on what they claimed. One attachment for each cousin. A quiet digital truth bomb. As the wedding cake was brought out and Scarlett basked in the applause of 200 adoring guests, I hit send. "To Scarlett," I murmured under my breath, raising my glass toward her from across the room. "May your marriage be more real than your wedding budget." She didn't hear me, but I swear at that exact moment, 3 phones lit up simultaneously. And not one of them was mine. "You've always been the quiet one, Ethan. The background cousin. That's why you're easy to forget," Scarlett had once said to me at a family barbecue. She laughed when she said it like it was a compliment, but it stayed with me. Growing up, I wasn't flashy like her. I didn't host birthday parties with hired celebrities or get my face plastered across the family newsletter when I graduated college. I didn't beg for money, I made it. Worked my way through school. Built my software consulting business from the ground up, and never asked anyone for anything. They loved that about me because it meant I was useful. A walking ATM with no withdrawal limits and no questions asked. I didn't fully realize it until this moment. Standing at her wedding with a $75 glass of scotch and a seating card that literally classified me as optional. The pattern was so clear now, how every single family event came with some kind of financial favor attached. I took another sip and watched as Scarlett fed cake to her new husband Sebastian. He seemed nice enough, probably had no idea what he was getting himself into. Poor guy. The DJ announced the first dance, and as the happy couple took the floor, I noticed Scarlett's mother glancing at her phone, then shooting a worried look in my direction. Good. The emails had landed. By the time dessert was fully served, I was on my second scotch, leaning against the bar with a strange sense of calm. The storm was coming, but for once I wouldn't be the one getting wet. I didn't fully realize the extent of my family's exploitation until I looked back and saw the pattern. How every interaction came with a financial transaction attached. How generosity was expected, not appreciated. Growing up alongside Scarlett and Noah, I was always the sensible cousin. While they spent summers at exclusive camps and winters at ski resorts, I worked part-time jobs and saved for college. My aunt would pat my head and say, "Ethan's the responsible one," like it was some consolation prize for not being born with their charm or connections. After college, while they were finding themselves on parents-funded trips to Europe, I was building my tech consultancy business. 60-hour weeks, ramen dinners, and a tiny apartment with roommates. But I made it work. By 30, I had a thriving business, a comfortable savings account, and the freedom to make my own choices. That's when the requests started coming in. Scarlett's engagement dinner. I covered the wine bill because the caterer forgot to include it. Noah's bachelor party, they forgot to book a hotel, so I booked 4 rooms on my credit card. Christmas last year, the whole family forgot. I'd already paid for half the vacation rental and asked me to Venmo again. I did it all because at the time, I still believed that being generous would eventually earn me a seat at the table. But no matter how much I gave, I was always the extra, the afterthought, the plus one, optional. It wasn't until 6 months before the wedding that I started to wake up. It started with a phone call from Scarlett at 9:43 p.m. on a Tuesday. "Hey, I hate to ask, but I'm short $950 for the florist deposit. I already promised them. You'll get it back after the wedding, obviously." It wasn't a question. It was a transaction she'd already assumed would go through, like I was her personal overdraft protection. I transferred the money before I could stop myself. 2 weeks later, Noah texted me, "Yo man, any chance you could help me out with the tux and flight? Lost my wallet in Vegas and my credits shot. $375. Gone. No thank you. No follow-up." Then a month later, I saw a post on Scarlett's Instagram. "Final fitting for my Marchesa gown. Worth every penny. Hashtag bride style, hashtag nah-budget fourthest dress. Every penny." That was when the nausea hit. I scrolled through her profile, seeing photos of brunches, spa days, designer bags, $22 smoothies. My money had paid for those things. Not florist deposits. Not emergencies. Luxury. Indulgence. Lies. I should have cut it off then, but I didn't. I told myself it wasn't worth the fight. That I was being petty. That helping family was what you do. But the thing about being exploited, you only notice how deep it goes when it's too late. The week of the wedding, I got a group text. "Hey guys! Quick update. Seating chart is tight. Some people may need to float. Casual vibes. We're all family. Casual. Float, right?" Except when I arrived at the venue and saw that +1, not required card, I realized I was the only one without a seat. Even Noah's ex-girlfriend had a seat at table 7. And when I looked at Scarlett, all done up in white lace and fake humility, and she smirked at me across the reception with that "hope you don't mind standing" nonsense, that was when something inside me snapped. They didn't forget me. They erased me. Not because they didn't care, but because I was inconvenient. Because I no longer served a purpose in their performance of a perfect life. But the real slap came later, after I sent those receipts and turned off my phone for the night. The next morning, I woke up to chaos. My inbox had exploded. Subject. Urgent what the fuck subject. I'm done with you subject. Are you insane? From Scarlett. From Noah. From her wedding planner. Apparently, the files I'd sent were flagged by the venue's finance team. The same team now refusing to process Scarlett's pending wedding reimbursements due to suspicious external contributions. She had filed them under gifted sponsorships, But my receipts showed direct payment, not donation. Translation, fraud. Suddenly, her tax write-off dream turned into a full-blown audit risk. Noah's borrowed Tux fund? I'd attached the receipt to his gambling app history, a neat little overlap showing the exact same amount deposited minutes after my transfer. The streaming subscription plan? That was petty, I admit. I just changed the password to Get Your Own Account 123. But the cherry on top, Grandmother Ellie, sweet, sharp-tongued, razor-eyed Grandmother Ellie, who never said much but always knew everything. She forwarded me the family email thread Scarlett had accidentally CC'd her on. And that thread? Oh, it was gold. Ethan's a pushover. I'm not worried. He always caves. He'll probably Venmo more if we guilt-trip him. He's the responsible one. If he makes noise at the wedding, just smile and cut his mic. I didn't know what hurt more, being called a pushover or realizing they had rehearsed how to silence me. But that was fine, because now I wasn't going to make noise. I was going to make a crater. I woke up the morning after the wedding to 37 missed calls, 52 text messages, and an email from my aunt with the subject line, "Family emergency meeting, your attendance required." The message was brief. Sunday, 2 p.m. Grandmother's house. You need to explain yourself. I laughed out loud in my hotel room. Explain myself? That was rich coming from people who'd spent years treating me like an ATM with legs. The first voicemail was from Scarlett, her voice shaking with rage. What the actual fuck, Ethan? The venue is withholding our security deposit because of your little stunt. Sebastian's parents are livid. You've ruined everything. The second was from Noah. Dude, that was private information. You had no right. I'm going to sue you for invasion of privacy, you piece of... I deleted the rest without listening. They weren't worth my time anymore. I ordered room service, the most expensive breakfast on the menu, because why not? And spent the morning organizing my evidence. Bank statements, text messages, emails, screenshots of social media posts showing what my loans had actually purchased. I compiled it all into a neat folder labeled Receipts and added one more document, a spreadsheet tallying every dollar I'd loaned to family members over the past 5 years. The total, $37,842. Not a single cent had ever been repaid. By the time I pulled up to Grandmother Ellie's sprawling Mediterranean-style home in Coral Gables, the family cars were already lined up in the circular driveway. I recognized Scarlett's white Range Rover, Noah's leased BMW, my aunt's Mercedes, all parked like vultures waiting for a carcass. I straightened my tie, grabbed my folder, and walked in without knocking. The hushed voices in the living room fell silent as I entered. They were all there, arranged like a tribunal. Aunt Patricia and Uncle Richard on the formal sofa. Noah slouched in an armchair, sunglasses hiding what I assumed were hangover eyes. Scarlett and Sebastian on the love seat, her eyes red-rimmed from crying or rage. Probably both. Grandmother Ellie sat regally in her favorite wingback chair, expression unreadable. Well, Aunt Patricia began, her voice dripping with disappointment. I hope you're satisfied with yourself, Ethan. You've caused quite the scene. I smiled pleasantly. Hello to you too, Aunt Patricia. Lovely weather we're having. Don't be cute, Scarlett snapped. You humiliated me at my own wedding. Funny, I replied, setting my folder on the coffee table. I was thinking the same thing when I saw my seating card. It was a mistake, she insisted, though her eyes darted away. The wedding planner mixed things up. A mistake, I repeated slowly, like the $950 you borrowed for florist deposits that somehow turned into a Marchesa gown? Or the family entertainment bundle I've been paying for 3 years that you all use but never contribute to. Noah sat up straighter. You're seriously bringing up a few $100s at a time like this? After what you did? I turned to him. You mean exposing how you used my $375 Tux rental money to fund your DraftKings account? That $375 that magically appeared in your gambling app 7 minutes after I transferred it to you. Sebastian, who had been silent until now, looked at his new wife. You told me your parents paid for the gown. The room temperature dropped 10 degrees. "This isn't about me," Scarlett deflected. "This is about Ethan trying to ruin our wedding out of jealousy." I laughed. Couldn't help it. Jealousy? Of what exactly? Your fraudulent tax write-offs? Your marriage built on lies? Please enlighten me. Aunt Patricia stood up, her face flushed. "That's enough. You've always been difficult, Ethan. Always thinking you're better than everyone else because you made some money with your little computer business." "My little computer business that funded half your family vacations?" I countered. "The same business you begged me to hire Noah for last year, even though he has 0 qualifications?" I opened my folder and began laying out papers on the coffee table, one by one. Bank transfers, text messages, email screenshots. "This is $1,200 for Scarlett's emergency car repair that somehow coincided with her Bahamas trip." I placed the paper down. "This is $850 for Noah's medical bill that matches exactly his payment to that sneaker reseller." Another paper. "This is the $3,000 I contributed to grandmother's birthday party that you," I looked directly at Aunt Patricia, "took credit for organizing and funding." The room was deadly quiet now. Even Scarlett had stopped her theatrical sniffling. "You've all been using me as your personal bank for years," I continued, my voice steady. "And I let you because I thought that's what family did for each other. I thought eventually you'd see me as more than just a wallet. But last night made it crystal clear. I'm not even worth a chair at your table." Grandmother Ellie, who had been watching silently, finally spoke. "Is this true, Scarlett? About the wedding expenses?" Scarlett's composure cracked. "It's not like that. Ethan's twisting everything." "Am I?" I pulled out my phone and played a voice memo. Scarlett's own voice. "Just ask Ethan for the money. He never says no. It's like taking candy from a baby." Sebastian stood up abruptly. "I need some air." He walked out, the front door slamming behind him. "Now look what you've done." Scarlett shrieked. "What I've done?" I shook my head. "No, this is what you've done. All of you. You created this situation by treating me like an endless resource instead of a person. And now you're mad because I finally stood up for myself." Uncle Richard, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. "You could have handled this privately, Ethan. Not at the wedding. Not like this. Like you handled things privately when you told everyone at Thanksgiving that my business was failing, even though you knew it wasn't true, just so Noah would look better by comparison." I countered. His face reddened. "That's different. It's always different when it's you, isn't it?" I gathered my papers back into the folder. "I'm done being your ATM. I'm done being the family pushover. From now on, my answer is no." I stood up and looked at each of them. "No more loans. No more just this once that turns into always. No more." "You can't just walk away from family," Aunt Patricia said, her voice shaking. "Watch me," I replied and turned to leave. As I reached the door, Grandmother Ellie called out, "Ethan." I paused, looking back at her. She nodded once, a slight smile on her lips. "Good for you." I walked out into the Miami sunshine feeling lighter than I had in years. The weight of their expectations finally lifted from my shoulders. Behind me, I could hear the shouting beginning, accusations flying. But for once, I wasn't in the middle of it. For once, I wasn't responsible for fixing it. For once, I was free. The next 2 weeks were nuclear winter in family terms. My phone buzzed constantly with messages ranging from guilt trips to outright threats. From Aunt Patricia, "Your grandmother is heartbroken. I hope you're proud of yourself." From Noah, "My credit score is tanked because of you. Thanks for nothing, asshole." From Scarlett, "Sebastian's parents want to annul the marriage. This is all your fault." I blocked them all except for Grandmother Ellie, who hadn't reached out at all. Her silence worried me more than the others' noise. Meanwhile, the professional fallout was just beginning. Scarlett's wedding planner, a well-connected Miami socialite, had blacklisted my business from her extensive network. 3 potential clients suddenly went in another direction. My company's social media accounts received a flurry of 1-star reviews from accounts created in the past 48 hours. I was prepared for the personal attacks, but not the professional sabotage. That was a new low even for them. On Thursday evening, as I was working late to compensate for the lost clients, my office phone rang. The caller ID showed Ellie Wilson. My grandmother never called my work line. Grandmother. I answered, trying to keep the anxiety from my voice. Ethan, she said, her voice crisp as ever. Are you free for dinner tomorrow? My house, 7 o'clock. Before I could respond, she added, just you and me, no one else. I hesitated. Was this an ambush? Another family intervention? I promise, she said, reading my silence correctly. No surprises. All right, I agreed. 7 it is. The next evening, I drove to her house with a knot in my stomach. The last time I'd been there, I'd walked out on the entire family. But when I arrived, the driveway was empty except for her modest Lexus and her housekeeper's Honda. Grandmother Ellie answered the door herself, elegant as always in a simple blue dress, her silver hair perfectly styled. Right on time, she said approvingly, ushering me in. Come to the study. I've had Rosa set up dinner there. I followed her through the house, noticing how quiet it was without the usual family chaos. Her study was my favorite room. Walls lined with books, a massive oak desk, and photographs spanning generations of Wilsons. She'd added a small dining table by the window overlooking her garden. Sit, she instructed, pouring 2 glasses of scotch. The good stuff she usually saved for Christmas. We need to talk. I braced myself. Grandmother, if this is about... It's not about the wedding, she interrupted, sliding a glass toward me. Well, not directly. It's about what the wedding revealed. She took a sip of her scotch, studying me over the rim of her glass. You've been financing this family for years, haven't you? I nodded slowly. And no one ever paid you back. Not a cent, I confirmed. She sighed deeply. I suspected as much. Patricia has always been creative with money, and her children learned from the best. You knew. I couldn't hide my surprise. I knew something wasn't right. The lifestyle they maintain doesn't match Richard's income. But I didn't know they were bleeding you dry. She set down her glass. Until I saw those receipts you sent. I felt a flush of embarrassment. I shouldn't have done it that way. At the wedding, I mean, perhaps not, she agreed. But I understand why you did. Sometimes a public reckoning is the only kind that sticks. Rosa brought in our dinner, grandmother's famous roast chicken with rosemary potatoes, and we ate in companionable silence for a few minutes. They're saying I'm trying to destroy the family, I finally said. She snorted. Dramatic as always. You're not destroying anything. You're just refusing to be their bank anymore. Scarlett's marriage might actually be in trouble, I admitted. Sebastian's family is old money. They don't tolerate financial irregularities. That's not your burden to carry, grandmother said firmly. Scarlett made her choices. All of them did. She reached across the table and placed her hand on mine. A rare gesture of affection from a woman who usually expressed love through actions rather than touch. Do you know why I asked you here tonight? She asked. I shook my head. Because you're the only one who hasn't asked me for money this month. Her smile was wry. The others have been circling like vultures since the wedding. Patricia needs funds for legal consultations. Noah has investment opportunities. And Scarlett, well, Scarlett needs to repair her reputation. I winced. I'm sorry they're bothering you. Don't be. It's clarifying. She withdrew her hand and reached for a folder beside her plate, similar to the one I'd brought to the family meeting. I've been doing some accounting of my own. She opened it to reveal bank statements, property deeds, and investment portfolios. I've made some changes to my estate planning. I wanted you to know first. My stomach dropped. Grandmother, I didn't do any of this for your money. I don't want. Hush. She cut me off. This isn't about rewarding you. It's about protecting what I've built from people who don't respect it. She showed me the documents. She had restructured her considerable estate, placing most assets into a carefully managed trust rather than leaving them to direct inheritance. The trust had specific conditions for distributions, education, medical needs, first homes, business startups. No blank checks. No easy cash. "You're the trustee," she said simply. I stared at her. "Me? But they'll hate that." "They'll survive," she replied dryly. "You're the only one I trust to be fair but firm, to make decisions based on need rather than want." "They'll never speak to me again," I said, though I wasn't sure if that was a warning or a realization. Perhaps that's for the best, for a while at least. She closed the folder. "Family isn't just about blood, Ethan. It's about respect. About seeing each other as human beings, not resources to be exploited." "When did you get so wise?" I asked, trying to lighten the moment. She laughed. "I've always been wise. You've just been too busy paying everyone's bills to notice." After dinner, as I was preparing to leave, she walked me to the door and handed me a small box. "What's this?" I asked. "Open it later," she said. "And remember, standing up for yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary." When I got home, I opened the box to find an old pocket watch that had belonged to my grandfather. Attached was a note in her elegant handwriting. "Time is the one thing you can never get back. Stop giving yours to people who waste it. Love, Grandmother." I sat on my couch, holding the watch, feeling its weight in my palm. For the first time since the wedding, I didn't feel alone. I had an ally, the most formidable one in the family. The next morning, my phone pinged with a text from an unknown number. It was Sebastian, Scarlett's husband. "Need to talk. Coffee tomorrow? Just us." I stared at the message for a long time before typing back, "Okay, 10 a.m. The cafe on 8th. Whatever came next, I was ready. No more doormat. No more ATM. Just Ethan Wilson standing his ground, with or without a seat at their table. I arrived at Café Moderna 15 minutes early, choosing a table in the corner with a clear view of the entrance. The place was busy with the usual Saturday morning crowd. Young professionals tapping on laptops, couples lingering over brunch, tourists studying maps of Miami's art district. Sebastian walked in at exactly 10 a.m., dressed down in chinos and a polo shirt instead of his usual tailored suits. Without Scarlett by his side, he looked different, less polished, more human. He spotted me and nodded, stopping at the counter to order before joining me. "Thanks for meeting me," he said, sliding into the chair across from mine. I nodded, waiting. This was his show. "I'm not here to yell at you," he began, which was a promising start, "or to demand an apology." "Good," I replied, "because you wouldn't get one." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Fair enough." He paused as the barista brought his Americano. "I'm here because I need to understand what happened. The real story, not the version Scarlett's been telling." I raised an eyebrow. "And what version is that?" "That you've always been jealous of her success. That you're having financial problems and lashed out because of it. That you've had some kind of vendetta against her since childhood." He took a sip of his coffee. "It's very dramatic." Despite everything, I laughed. "That sounds like Scarlett." "It does," he agreed. "But it doesn't sound like you." That surprised me. Sebastian and I had never been close. Our interactions limited to family gatherings where he was usually glued to Scarlett's side, laughing at her jokes, supporting her stories. I'd always seen him as an extension of her, not his own person. "You don't really know me," I pointed out. "I know enough," he countered. "I know you built your business from nothing. I know you show up when family needs you. And I know those receipts you sent weren't fabricated." He pulled out his phone, scrolled through something, then set it down between us. It was open to a banking app showing a series of transfers, all from Scarlett's account to various luxury retailers, all matching the exact amounts she'd borrowed from me. "I found these after the wedding," he said quietly. "When I confronted her, she said they were gifts from you, that you'd always given her money for her birthday, Christmas, just because." I felt a familiar anger rising. "And you believed that?" "At first," he admitted. "It fit the narrative I knew, wealthy cousin helping out family. But then I saw the dates." He pointed to the screen. These transfers happened hours after she texted you about emergencies, car repairs, medical bills, rent shortfalls, none of which were real, I confirmed. He nodded slowly. I'm beginning to see that. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside, a summer shower had started, sending pedestrians scurrying for cover. My parents want me to annul the marriage, Sebastian finally said. They're saying Scarlett misrepresented herself, that our prenup is void due to financial deception. I wasn't sure how to respond. Part of me, the petty part one wasn't proud of, felt vindicated. But another part felt sorry for him. He looked exhausted, the kind of bone-deep tired that comes from having your foundation shaken. What do you want? I asked. He looked surprised by the question. What do I want? Yes, not your parents. Not Scarlett. You. He stared into his coffee. I don't know anymore. I thought I knew who I was marrying. Someone ambitious, yes. High maintenance, definitely. A sad smile. But not this. A liar, I supplied. A fraud, he corrected. Someone who would use people who love her. The rain intensified outside, drumming against the windows. I thought about all the times I'd made excuses for Scarlett's behavior. All the times I'd told myself it was just her personality, just her way of showing affection. How had I been so blind? I'm not here to tell you what to do about your marriage, I said carefully. That's your decision. I know, he sighed, but I am here to apologize for not seeing what was happening, for being part of it even unknowingly. That caught me off guard. In all the years of financial exploitation, no one had ever apologized to me. Not once. Thank you, I said, meaning it. That means a lot. Sebastian nodded, then reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. This is for you. I eyed it suspiciously. What is it? The money Scarlett borrowed from you for the florist deposit. I found the texts. He pushed the envelope across the table. It's not everything she owes you, but it's a start. I didn't touch it. I don't want your money. It's not mine, he insisted. It's from my personal account, not our joint funds. And it's not about buying forgiveness. It's about doing what's right. After a moment's hesitation, I took the envelope and tucked it into my jacket pocket. Thank you. He nodded, then asked the question I'd been waiting for. Why did you do it? Why at the wedding? I considered deflecting, but he deserved honesty. Because nothing else would have worked. I tried talking to them before, setting boundaries. They just found new ways around them. I shook my head. The wedding was the last straw, being literally left without a seat after paying for half the celebration. I didn't know about that, he said quietly. The seating chart. I believe you. He ran a hand through his hair. What happens now? With the family? I don't know, I admitted. Grandmother's on my side. The rest? I shrugged. Time will tell. And us? He asked. You and me. The question surprised me. I'd never considered that there could be an us separate from Scarlett, separate from the family dynamics. That depends, I said carefully, on what you decide about your marriage. On whether you're willing to see the pattern or if you'll let her convince you this was all a misunderstanding. He nodded slowly. Fair enough. He finished his coffee and stood up. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. It just would have been easier for everyone if you'd done it sooner. Easier, maybe, I agreed. But would anyone have listened? Probably not, he conceded. He extended his hand. Thank you for meeting me. I shook it, noting the firmness of his grip. Good luck, Sebastian. Whatever you decide. You too. He hesitated, then added, they're not all bad people, you know? Your family. Just broken in certain ways. I know, I said softly. That's what makes it so hard.